Hey everyone, it's Adam Helfman from Hire It Done. Welcome to the podcast. Today I've got a really cool special guest, the CEO of the Roof Resource. It's a company you've heard me talk about for the last couple of years on Hire It Done. They do roofs. They're a cloud-based roofing company. They have changed the industry. I'm lucky to have the busiest CEO, founder in the roofing space right now in studio. His name is Mike Harvey. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Adam, for having me.
Yeah, you know, Mike, let's go back down memory lane. It was this office, which is now the podcast office, in 2022, early 22, was it? I believe, or 21, late 21. You came in here.
I think it was in early 22, but in late 21, that's when, I had met you.
Yeah. So we had met, and it's interesting for everyone out there. Mike had come in and said, hey, I've got this great roofing concept. I'd like to hear your opinion of it. And I'm like, yeah, of course, I'll listen to it. And initially, I had really, really big doubts because I fall into the category of being a fourth generation contractor my whole life, home improvement. And when you live inside those four walls, it's hard from the outsider looking in to, I would say, accept change or create change. And Mike, with his tenacity, I'll say, and confidence, triggered something in me. And we had long conversations. We'd met several times, I believe.
Yeah, we met a couple of times because, again, it's so different.
Right.
It was like you had multiple different roofing companies that you dealt with. And so it was completely different than what you've ever experienced.
Big change. And by the way, in the home improvement vertical or in the industry, change is the slowest of all industries to do anything be accepted. They just don't accept change like other industries. A yellow pad and piece of paper are what contractors today, that's their number one tool in their toolbox. And Mike's like, there's a better way. And I've read in the past that it takes people from outside an industry to create change. And, we use the term disrupting the industry. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, when it's completely different than what everyone else is doing. As you know, there's 102,000 retail traditional roofing companies out there, and we are the only company that is cloud-based that's doing what we do. So people call it disruption. I look at it as it's really the right thing to do for homeowners.
Let's talk about what got you to it's the right thing to do for homeowners. Were you, because you came from the cable industry, but you were shortly in a stint of doing roofing for a minute, weren't you? Yeah,
so I was being asked to join a roofing company from a friend of mine. And, it was just like, one, I'm afraid of heights. And so that's not going to happen.
You don't like getting on risk.
And, he kept on saying, hey, you've scaled sales systems across the country. You could really do something, for this industry. And, I didn't know fascia board from drip edge. I had no understanding of roofing. But that 9 months in the end of 2019 and into 2020 is I learned in those 9 months in industry that I just felt that I was part of the problem, even though it was, hey, I'm sitting in front of a homeowner and, hey, they're, taking them through that sales process journey and there's other people lining up to give them presentations and I'm part of the problem and they're choosing me because, they like me. You build influence, you get trust. And I just started feeling dirty, that I'm taking advantage. And I said to my partner at the time, what I found out in the industry was that homeowners don't know what they don't know. And they rely on strangers really to tell them what they need. And you're part of this 3 to 4 to 5 different bids. There's an education. And I just was like, I can't do this anymore because I had a Jerry Maguire moment with a customer. And I've shared that.
Sure.
That's the pivoting point of my career in the traditional retail roofing.
It makes a lot of sense. And so when it comes to deciding I can do this better, what motivated you to start the Roof Resource? Because I know you said you had this Jerry Maguire moment where a homeowner had to borrow money to pay for their roof and the homeowner was pregnant, I believe?
Yeah, so they had 2 kids, and I know exactly where their home is at because I won't forget them because they were part of the reason why I did this. And then the very next couple of days, I installed my grandmother and my brother. And so I took care of everything for them. And it was it would be really cool if I could provide the same experience to a complete stranger, and didn't know if I could do that, but I took care of all of that for them. And I gave them choice, selection, simplicity. I handled it all for them. And they just had to pick out the color of their shingle, and the choice. And so it was that moment that I went ahead and I said, I'm leaving that partnership. I left it in 2 days. And then for 4 months, I modeled out the roof resource.
Interesting story. So the old way of doing things, or I'll call it the family discount, you did your brother and your grandmother, you said?
Yeah.
Do you know that a lot of contractors will say they're giving the family discount to people and it's really not?
Yeah, I've heard that time and time again. There was a gentleman who's the president of, I think, Detroit Catholic Central, a great customer. He was referred to me through a friend that actually worked there part-time and called me up and said, hey, he's got a price. It was like $19,500, but he was getting a friend family discount. And we ended up doing his house for $16,009. And that included 3 brand new skylights. And so you hear it a lot about, hey, I got a family price, or I'm getting a special deal. And we see that in all the Val packs. We see that in all the different promotions. Get $1,000 off, $500 off just by calling us up. And all of those things are archaic ways of business. And so when I see all of that and getting the family price and the buddy price, it's really just a play on words, because at the end of the day, they've got really big organizations. They've got brick and mortar. They have to do what they have to do. And I don't discount what they do, right? But at the end of the day, it's not the same type of service that we provide homeowners.
It's a great way to put it. And I do respect the way you talked about that, because I call it fuzzy math. The same exact roof product on somebody's house by 5 different roofers, you will get 5 different prices.
And we see that every single day.
I mean, it's amazing. And we're always the lowest price.
Yeah, there's the homeowner goes through this when they're needing a roof. They go through this, I want to say, this crazy process. And it's not as though that I don't want them to get other quotes, but those other quotes then confuse them, because now somebody comes out and says GAF HDZ is the best. And now, do I believe John? And then somebody else comes out and says Certainty Landmark Pro is the best. And then their price is different. And then somebody else says Owens Corning is the best. And it's just confusion. And it's like, who can I trust? And again, it goes back in 21, and I said, who wants a customer experience like that? You own the home. You should be able to get real, true facts and then make a decision based off of those facts. And that's where, with the roof resource, they can see itemized materials, labor dumpster, permit. They get to see all of that. And nobody gives that kind of experience. And if they do, we hope that we're leading this change of transparency, but no one's going to be priced out the way that we price it, because we don't have, we're cloud-based. So we don't have all that brick and mortar. We don't have all that overhead.
Interesting. Before you and I met, Hire It Done had anywhere between 4 and 12 roofers. And homeowners would go to the website and pick 4, and they would compete. And I always was trivialized by the fact when homeowners would call me and say, hey, Adam, I got 4 guys. They were all great. But one guy was $30,000 for, 25 square. One guy was $25,000 and another guy was $15,000. They're all pre-screened by you. Why can't I just go with the lowest guy? And I said to him, you know what? You go with the lowest guy. You can't go wrong. It's probably not apples to apples. We should compare them all, but the very lowest price, if he's a Hire It Done contractor, no problem. And when you and I met, I kept saying to myself, if he got into the mix with all the Hire It Done guys, you would win over handily. And then as your business model evolved, I made the decision to just go exclusively with you, because I believe so much in the disruption of the industry that you've created that I wanted to risk my relationship with the other contractors. And you met with all of them. We gave all of them a year warning, remember?
Oh, yeah.
6 months, a year, then 6 months, and 3 months. And then I said, hey, guys, the door shut.
Yeah, I look at this and people with some other videos too, that they'll hear that, when I say remember the time when we all went down to Blockbuster or Family Video and we went through that process and went in because the new movie's coming out and there's only 28 of those movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's Blockbuster. Great company. And then the little company called Netflix came out. And Netflix was these DVDs and, for $19, you could get unlimited. And you're watching the same movie. And you're like, well, wait a minute, this is pretty easy. And then, of course, OTT, over the top, the streaming, and that came in and it changed it. What happened to Blockbuster? They didn't want to change. And I look at this business here as the same. Blockbuster was a great company. You would go in and get your popcorn and your video and you would have a great experience. And I'm certain that these other roofing companies that are traditional, they're truly wanting to provide a good experience. But
Sure.
At the end of the day, they have to charge more because they've got brick and mortar. They have salespeople, and immediately, respectfully, when there's salespeople involved, that homeowner needs to know that that price is going up because who pays for that salesperson? Or when they see him on TV and radio, respectfully, who pays for that?
Well, there's a cost involved.
And there's a cost involved, and I get it, and I'm completely fine with. Our whole message in 2025 has been just get our proposal.
Right.
And then make a decision based on wherever you want to go, but know the facts. And so there's times where, I'm out in the neighborhood and again, it's like, I feel like, I can't save everybody, but I just want them to know what the real cost of a roof is. And then if you choose any of these other traditional roofing companies, so be it. I have no problem with that. But that's the weight of the shoulders, the weight of the world on my shoulders.
Of course.
Is that I feel like I just want them to know. And when they do find that out, they tend to choose us, and then we deliver and people read the reviews. So,
initially I was always worried people are going to think it's too good to be true.
Yes, that was my first year. I was very close to 100 new customers. I remember Owens Corning coming to me and saying, how did you do 2,500 squares, never meeting people? And, I had probably 150 people that told me that they chose another company and paid 6 or 7 or 8 or 10,000 more because they were like, you were like 10,000 less than the lowest estimate. Like something has got to be wrong. Like I was using wrong materials or the installation. Right. And I'm like, I get it because we're so new. And when you're cloud-based and people don't understand what that means, the savings immediately gets passed through the homeowner. So I lost quite a few in the,
I believe it. So for everyone out there, we're going to break down the process right now of how the roof resource works. So homeowner knows they need a new roof, whether there was a leak, bad storm, or they've had it 30 years and they're like, you know what? I'm not taking a chance. They got a letter maybe from the insurance company. I'm putting on a new roof. They stumble across us and they call us, they email us. What's the first communication step for a homeowner?
So they go to the website, they fill out their first name, last name, email address, and phone number. That's it.
Okay.
And so that comes to us. It'll either, come to us or one of our franchisees. They're contacting them within pretty immediate, usually within the same day. And then they're going to ask them some questions, that's basic.
So there's a first phone call. Homeowner goes to the website, fills out their information, name, address, phone number. That's it. They get contacted.
Name, email address, and phone number.
They get contacted by the roof resource. And then that initial contact, a few questions are asked, like confirming their address, what they need done.
Right. What we're doing too is we're pulling up their home, not on Google Earth. We use roofing technology. So we're able to take a look at their home and see the skylights and see the pool in the backyard. And we're able to see all the detail. So we confirm the location. And then we're just asking some basic questions like, how soon are they looking to get the roof? What's the most important thing to them? Price, warranty, craftsmanship, all the pretty standard things that a homeowner is looking for. And then what we're doing is we're running a roof report and we're putting the proposal together, which is within 24 hours. And then we have about a 20-minute Zoom at the customer's convenience. And we're able to share with them the roofing technology. And they're pretty amazed by that because we get to show their home in detail. All of the measurements and the actual squares on their home and the pitch and how it all relates to materials and labor.
But let me ask you this, Mike. This roofing technology you talk about, it's satellite photography, it's drone photography, it's a combination of. Obviously, the program that we use is not available to the public.
Well, correct. And so this is roofing technology. And I would say that, some companies may use it, some may not. They always say they want to come out to the home and they want to walk the roof, and that's fine too. Because what they're really doing is they're taking pictures to help them sell the roof to the homeowner, right?
That's correct.
And so what we're doing is we're pulling up this roofing technology, and it's the data that we share with the homeowner. Because at this point, we always say that we're not selling a roof.
Right.
We're providing a service to the homeowner as if truly that their family, other than we have a flat fee that we charge. I cannot do any better with my brother, my parents, grandparents, than what I can do for a complete stranger in Michigan or in Idaho. And so we pull up that technology, we review that with them, and then we translate that into their proposal. And they get to see exactly how it equates, so that there's no mystery on labor. There's no mystery on materials or the squares of the home. And then there's waste factor. And those are always important things to, share with the homeowner. What is waste factor and how does that calculate into the overall price?
Interesting. It's an interesting concept. And, to go back to when you say when a homeowner, obviously most homeowners are getting a roof, get several bids. And when they call other companies, the other companies are like, yeah, we're going to come to your house. We're going to do a roof inspection. We're going to get on your roof. But what they don't know, one of the dirty little secrets is they get up there to look for reasons why they're going to sell you a roof, whether it's some flashing, whether it's suspicious looks or whatever. I've even heard that there are roofing contractors who will get up there and create some sort of damage because 99% of all homeowners don't go on their own roof to see, let me see if there's any hail damage. They just don't know. They have to rely on a professional. So with us, or the Roof Resource, you use technology, but you never go on the roof until after they become a customer.
That is correct, yeah. I mean, what happens is when the homeowner knows they need a roof, they're 18 to 20 years old, it's end of life, they're thinking of it, or maybe the insurance company is starting to send them some notifications. So they think that. I've had homeowners give me a call, and when they say, I'm not sure I need a roof, I immediately go to all of our home inspection partners, and I say, you know what, call up, a variety of different ones, and have an independent third party come inspect your roof. It's about $150. And I've had homeowners call me back and say, thank you so much, Mike. I don't need a roof for another 8 years. It's starting to weather. I might have to caulk around the chimney or something, but I don't need it. Because if you call out a traditional retail roofing company, immediately it goes to the top of mind is that the homeowner's thinking of, maybe I need a new roof. Let's pounce on the opportunity and let's try to find out. You better get it now. Materials are going up. Labor's going up every year. The best way to get it, let's try to finance it. And they really try to sell the customer a roof. And we are here to empower homeowners that when you need a roof, we're here for you. We'll run this report in 24 hours and you're good. You're not sure? We have unlimited resources and home inspection companies nationwide that the average is about $150 to $200. Best money they will ever spend, because now it's an objective review of their roof.
Independent set of eyes.
Independent. Someone is not trying to sell a roof. And so when homeowners see, hey, a 24-point inspection, 35-point inspection, whatever it is, we're going to do this for free for you. There's nothing free, because why is it that they're going to go out and they're going to spend 24-point inspection, but then why do they want to meet with me for an hour and a half? Why is that? Why don't you leave the inspection in my mailbox? You can do that. I don't need to be home for you to come out to my home. You do. And both people need to be present. I've had customers who have chose the Roof Resource because we presented just to the missus via Zoom.
Interesting.
We're not worried about both people need to be there.
So in the old school terminology from home improvement, as I was raised, one homeowner at the table when you're presenting anything is called a one-legger. And that's why they always say you got to have both homeowners present. With the Roof Resource, we don't need that. That's the best part about it.
Yeah. I mean, again, it comes back to, we're not here to sell you a roof. We're here to service the home.
Right.
and do what's right. And again, it goes back to, we just want the homeowner to get our proposal and to get the true numbers. Take a look at the flat fee. Other than that flat fee, everything else is at cost. And that flat fee is nominal, which still today, with our flat fee and all the other materials, labor, dumpster permit, we're up to 50% less than retail. And for top of the line roofing systems, the same system that most traditional roofing companies are using today.
The whole process is still, even though I've been involved 3+ years now with you, it still creates the response to most people like, no way. That, I can't believe it's true. And here the company is in a growth trajectory that has got everyone in the industry talking. I mean, nationwide, which is great. So let's go through the process once again. Homeowner decides they want to get a roof. They go to the Roof Resource website. They fill out name, phone number, and email. Roof Resource contacts them, confirms where they live, confirms their house, and then sets up a phone call for a day later or a couple of days later, whatever's convenient for everybody, on Zoom. No one's been into the house. It's presented, the proposal on Zoom. You guys break down everything, the cost of the shingle, the cost of the labor, the dumpster, the permit, the Roof Resources fee, all that added up, about 50% less than retail.
That is correct. I mean, it's pretty, and we lead with that, by the way. Once we review that roof report, when we pull up the proposal, other than, hey, the reason why we got started and a little bit, hey, what's in the proposal? The very next page is the price.
Right.
We lead with that. It's the 800-pound elephant that everyone wants to know, how much is my roof going to cost? And so when homeowners have met with us and then, hey, they've got a couple other proposals that they got people coming out,
sure,
I always say within 5 minutes, ask them for the price. They don't need to spend 20 minutes on who we are, another 20 minutes on the quality of the installation, 20 minutes on their Google reviews, and then price condition a homeowner.
Right.
Then know you're going through a sales process. And then, hey, Mr. Smith, it's going to be $27,500. How does that compare to the budget you were looking to spend? That is the ultimate question that every roofing company uses. And then it's like, well, yeah, I was thinking about that, or, oh, that's too high. They can then, of course, knock off $2,000. Or guess what? You called in 50% off of labor.
Right.
Well, when they're not even showing what labor is, 50% off of what? So it's all these other pieces, and we lead with that because we want them to know, hey, then we're going to do an attic inspection. You're going to get your choice of all the different brands, and we just make it easy for homeowners.
And that's the skeptical part of it, because a lot of homeowners, this is not easy when other guys are there. When you're there, it's, on Zoom, it's like, wait a minute, that's it? Yeah.
Right.
It's that easy.
Yeah. We have removed the complexity and made it simple for the homeowner.
It's the roof buying process has changed. Would that be a perfect example of disrupting the industry?
Yeah, I mean, it's something new, and we are today the only one, and we know we're the pioneer of it. Do I see in the next 3 to 5 years there'll be other industries? We're going to be launching gutter guards here in a few months. We'll be in that. That's $1 billion industry, but again, we can save homeowners thousands of dollars. Next year, we'll look to get into the window space, and then following that, it'll be siding. And again, it goes back to creating simplicity for the homeowner and being transparent. It's not about going to different zip codes and seeing how much I can make off this one customer.
Interesting. That's the problem. In the roofing industry, margins, how much can you get? How much commission? It was always a race to see who could be the most profitable. How about highest quality? How about highest satisfaction? Again, your take from being outside the industry has changed everything. And who wins? The homeowner.
Right. I mean, we always say that when we sit around the conference table, that a homeowner has a seat in every one of our discussions. And we want to make certain that, because we're all homeowners, right?
Yeah.
This is how we all want to be treated. We don't mind if someone makes a little bit of money, but, the comment of, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Don't be out there trying to make $10,000 on me just because I didn't know any better. And, so with the Roof Resource, we want to make certain that everyone, again, knows who we are, the level of quality of installation, the level of material selection that they get, And, then here's your price. And at that point, Adam, then I feel like we've done our job. We've empowered you with that information. You choose us, we'll have it installed in 7 to 10 days. There's no, well, hurry up, make your decision now because we got to put you on the list for the list is big. There's no list here. And you figure we're in multiple states now. We pretty much have sold out the almost 75% of Michigan, so there's no list for the homeowner.
It's interesting that you say that. So you've mentioned the word cloud-based a few times, and it seems like that's a word that's not used in home improvement. All of a sudden technology, the world's catching up with things, roofing, home improvement, it's still, in the 90s. The biggest technology that contractors use, to be honest with you, is, a smartphone. Mm-hmm. Like they really, there's a couple of programs out there and they will use satellite photos to figure out instead of climbing up on the roof so they can get just how many squares, but they're not using it as the business model. They're not using it as part of the order. They're not integrating it into like a CRM that's custom. We call it core. Mm-hmm. We'll talk about that soon too, but that whole change in calling cloud-based. So for the audience, to tell them what you mean when you say cloud-based.
Well, cloud-based means that we have a CRM and all the technologies live in the cloud. So that's what makes us completely 100% virtual. I've done proposals for customers and met them when I'm in Tennessee, and when I'm in Florida, they're here in Michigan. We never meet a homeowner. We do not have to go out to sit down and meet with them. Everything that we do is in this cloud, right? And so it's out here, it lives on servers. And so we can pull from that information anytime that we need it.
And then there's always documentation. So in 10 years from now, I call you and say, hey, look, you just say, here, let me type your address in. And then out of the cloud, it pulls the whole project up, right. All the pictures.
Right. Everything that we put up there. And so when you think of traditional, traditional is file cabinets and paperwork. And, again, then you need brick and mortar for that. And then you need people to staff that. And then, hey, I want to be in the roofing space and I want to be a storm chaser and I need people. Well, all of that, expense starts to add up, and who ends up paying for that? And rightfully so, it's going to be a higher priced installation, and a higher price for the homeowner. Are they going to get a good quality install? Most likely. Are they going to get a good system? Most likely. But does the homeowner have to do that? No. And that's where we come in.
You make the whole process simple. So now let's go to the next couple steps. So the homeowner gets all your pricing. They go through the Zoom call, about a half hour typically.
Yeah, based on the questions that they have, because usually it's that price point is kind of, whoa, I mean, it really takes them back. Like, wow, this is affordable, right? So
that's important. The key word you just said, affordable. That's true. Okay, so then they go through it. You've satisfied their questions. They like the price. They want to become a customer. Mm-hmm. What do they do to become a customer? And then what's the process after they pull the trigger?
So once they become a customer, we send them a link, they click on it, they pay our fee, they became a customer. And within 24 to 48 hours, one of our home inspection companies are reaching out to them to come out and do a thorough attic inspection. We're taking pictures of the attic. We're looking at the interior wood. We're looking at bathroom venting, if it's just hanging there and it's just dropping moisture into the attic. And then we're also looking at intake ventilation. Intake ventilation is so very key for every single roof. And there's times that, we hear that companies went out and they really didn't address it, but we're looking at all of that. And we're getting photos of all of this, which we also share with the homeowner. So the homeowner can see exactly with what we're saying. And then once, that's happening, once a customer, becomes a customer with us, we are now having them spend time on taking a look at, hey, do I have a red brick and white siding, or do I have a multicolored brick and a tan siding? All the different brands. And we're talking Atlas Designer, Owens Corning Duration Designer, Certainty Landmark Pro, Tamco Titan, you name it. That's all the top brands and top systems. So now if they go from Certainty Landmark Pro, if they really like that Owens Corning Black Sable Designer series, they're not getting an upcharge. There's no, oh, sorry, you've picked this shingle and it's going to cost you a little more. They get one price for all of that.
That's a distinct difference.
So they get time. And we've had homeowners that we would be like, hey, it's been like 2 weeks and you haven't picked a color. And they're like, well, my husband really likes the GAF. There's a, particular color. And I really like the Owens Corning Pacific Wave, and they have time because they're going to stare at this roof for the next 40 or 50 years. And traditional, they come out, they bring them a shingle, and they're basically saying, pick a color right now. And so the homeowners don't really have that. So there's so much value to that. So then once they pick that color, we run it through our model, our IP, and we nail it down to the penny. And then what also the homeowner then gets is a copy of the actual document that we receive, itemizing everything.
So they can see the cost of it.
They get to see, again, we're national pricing. They get to see down to the penny. They're not really wanting to see the nails and the caulk and the step flashing.
But it's there.
But it's all there. But what they get to see is if they choose Owens Corning or Certainty, they see those initials, CT, 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 CT. It's a full system. Now, comparatively speaking, when someone says, we're going to put down the synthetic and ice and water shield and starter and so on and so forth, and hey, you're picking an Owens Corning duration shingle Onyx Black. Well, what about all the other pieces? Are they generic? Or are they being brought from used jobs and it's not brand new? So our homeowners get to see this is all brand new, shipped from SRS, our partner, directly to their home. And of course, they own this, which is a whole nother savings in a legality way for a homeowner, because now they don't have to worry about really the financial.
Right. If the contractor doesn't pay for the shingles that are delivered, the homeowner risks a lien being placed on their home. There is no lien when the homeowner paid for the materials.
Correct. Yeah. And I heard about this in 22 and I was shocked. But in the roofing industry, the large building supply houses are really banks. And what they are is that they're a bank for the contractor to get a credit line of $100,000 to $200,000. And so that's the reason why they have to try to keep selling and getting large deposits, because they have to pay down their lines to get access to more shingles.
It's a mirror of the way the contracting business is in general. Robbing Peter to pay Paul. There's a ton of great contractors out there, but there's equally a lot of bad ones. And obviously, as we are humans, we always remember the bad ones. And that's the problem. But hey, it makes us shine better when we out there showing a better process. So one thing I want to note is when a homeowner brings a contractor over to sell them a roof or to get a roof inspection, that contractor almost every time is going to promote one brand of shingle. And that was something you brought up, the roof resource. And correct me if I'm wrong, the homeowner gets to buy any shingle they want. And when you price it, you're pricing the high end, so they can always maybe go a little bit more budget friendly and the price can go down. Is that correct?
So there's a particular, so we have cost pricing, on every brand.
Correct.
And so we go ahead and we want to make certain that the customer experience is whatever they choose. And so for us, there's always one brand that might be 50 cents more a bundle. Okay?
Correct.
And so we want to lead with that. But then, for instance, the last fall, Tamco Titan came in and said, hey, we're going to do this massive discount. And could we have led with the normal top line pricing? We went ahead and told homeowners, hey, guess what? You could actually have this Tamco Titan shingle for X and save another $1,500. We then also, Owens Corning, duration, their Onyx, their Flex, they had a lot of Flex, which is a class 4 shingle. And they came to us and said, hey, you could offer the Flex for the same price of the duration.
So the homeowner ends up winning even more.
Well, the homeowner wins even more, but I had a customer reach out to me from high school, and from a very large reputable company, and it was $14,000, $17,000, and then $21,000 for the Flex. Okay. We were $10,900 for the Flex.
Same products.
Because we didn't go ahead and say, oh, we're going to take advantage of that duration price point to the Flex price point.
Right.
And they were able to get the Flex because, again, at the end of the day, we are here to get the best pricing for the homeowner. And that's what that flat fee is about. It empowers that homeowner that they're going to get the best by that flat fee that they pay to us.
That's interesting information. So picking the shingle, it's basically when the homeowner is ready to pick their shingle, it comes down to which color they like best.
You know, in that small 9-month period, with walking in with boards, I always alluded to, you know what, the best way to do it is go on Google, type in red brick, brown siding, and then what you envision for that roof, if you want black or you want multicolor, and take a look at all the images.
Right.
And that has been the way that homeowners have gone. We've had some that, hey, they would really like to have a board, and we let them know. Well, go into SRS, let them know, or again, all of our different partners nationwide who are also SRS, part of the family, and let them know you're working with the roof resource and you can take a board home. You can take 3 or 5 boards home if you want. And they didn't know that they can do that if they physically want to see the shingle. But they've really been able to experience like, hey, if you really like that Pacific Wave, go online, go to Google, type in Pacific Wave, Owens Corning, type in red brick, tan siding.
And all these houses.
And you'll see all these houses with Pacific Wave on it. And so I actually told the group at Owens Corning in the fall, I said, the division that is doing great is that their color choice palette. It's a division that they have, and they now call it roof gawking on Owens Corning site. But they've just done a great job with all of the designer series. And Adam, most of the time I found homeowners have no idea that there is Owens Corning Duration Designer Series.
Right.
Because they're just saying, here's brown, here's black, here's gray, here's charcoal, and nobody has seen that. And so when they see it, they're like, wow. And it just beautifies the home. It's
interesting, that lack of knowledge on that, or the homeowner not really knowing, but once they find out and they see it, they're like, holy moly.
Right. And their price doesn't increase.
That's the best part about it. That's how that you guys change the industry. And what are you hearing from your competitors?
Nothing.
They're scared.
And when I say nothing, I mean, I'll hear it from reps in other divisions, and they'll say, people are talking, and I'm just like, hey, this is great. If we're going to lead this change, because again, there's I think there's over 2,000 roofing companies here in Michigan.
Correct.
And it's about leading the way, and it's about saying, hey, this is the way that we can do it differently. Let's not think of 200 roofs or 300 roofs. Come with a roof resource. We're going to do 50,000 roofs. We're going to do 100,000 roofs. And sometimes people can't wrap their head around that. But if, we're in Idaho now, and New Jersey, and Ohio, and Texas, and Colorado, and throughout Michigan, when we can have uniformity and systemization in every single one of those markets, it's done the same way.
That's the best part, scalable.
And it's scalable. And so, we do have, roofing partners that are lining up for us in these markets because, hey, maybe they're only selling 100 or 150 roofs, but they want to do work for us. And so we've been able to attract some really good people.
We have done a great job attracting really, really good roofers. And it's interesting that you talk about in the other states, the scalability and doing it the same way in every state. There's states that have hot weather all the time. There's states that have hail. There's states that are super cold. And there's like us in the Midwest who have 4 seasons. And you can do roofs all year round. However, there are some differences. Mm-hmm. But following the protocol that you created is fantastic. And is that the reason why you transitioned into franchising and to grow around the country instead of doing a corporate office? Or is it a blend? What is the plan? Because the franchisees, you sold out quickly here in Metro Detroit. You've got the other states that you're in now. They're beating the doors down from the people who heard about it. Fastest growing franchise, top 150, I heard.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's a lot.
100 game changers in 2024. But going back to that question of, why franchising, and it was until we come to Charlotte, North Carolina, all those homeowners are going to have that same old archaic process.
Yep.
Right? It's like they won't know about Netflix until we get there. So now they have to go to Blockbuster and rent movies all the time, right? It seems, or don't ever use Amazon. You've got to always go to Target or you always have to go to Macy's or wherever it's going to be. Cloud-based simplicity at your fingertips, get that quote. And so franchising was the way that we could bring in people in those markets that believe in the brand and believe in what we're doing, and that altruism, that feeling that you get of doing right by homeowners. That was the reason why it was, hey, franchising is going to be the best way to go. And I just did not know how attractive it was going to be until, this last fall, where it just kind of went crazy.
Well, if you think about it, the barrier to entry if someone wants to be in a franchise, the barrier to entry right now, currently, to get into the roof resource is a bargain.
Yeah, from the potential franchisees that were telling me the other types of franchise businesses
they were looking at
the CapEx, the capital, expenditures that was needed, the brick and mortar and the equipment and a lot of the different things. This is a virtual business. So it's very little to no overhead to operate and run the business. But what was key is it was finding the right people. Mike Staples down in Austin, Texas, a serial entrepreneur, comes with just a ton of success, but wants to own and be the roof resource in multiple franchise markets that are in Austin. The group, the guys that are in Columbus, Ohio, it is about getting into something so early and so new, but, growing from that point of, hey, we're new today, we're going to become commonplace in the next couple of years. And it was their relationships and their partnerships and what they could bring to the table. And so that's what's making the roof resource grow quickly.
And being a franchise, you being the franchisor, it's only been a couple of years, not even 2 years, probably.
Yeah, it was.
Where it was became official.
Well, official, it was March 30th of 2023.
Okay, so here we are, just 2 hours, 2 years.
Yeah, so 2 years into it, learned a lot. One of the things that we made it more abundantly clear than ever is that there's two aspects of the franchise. I mean, at the end of the day, if I could have just opened up and my counsel, who was dynamite, Steve Nafar, said, Mike, just open up, it'd be the Amazon of roofs and just be a big call center. And that was not what I wanted. Now, if I wanted to do that and you could just sit behind a laptop and get leads and just sell people, I would have never franchised. Why would I franchise?
Right.
I franchise because you've got to be in the community. You've got to let people know, because we're not on TV. We're not spending the thousands of dollars to be on TV and radio. So that's the other piece, the successful piece of being a franchisee.
It's the guerrilla marketing.
And
you
so
got to be in the field.
We really emphasized in this past 6 months that, if you're just looking to be an absentee owner of the franchise, we're not. We've passed on multiple
active owners,
very successful people, and people that wanted to still be in the W-2 space and do that. We've passed on them. Every one of our current new franchisees are in it every single day,
full time.
Yes,
smart. So would you consider that a lesson learned, or as you grow this, to know that you have to have somebody in the franchise that wakes up every morning, going out, right, promoting the franchise?
Yeah, it was definitely a lesson learned at the time. It was a lot of excitement and people wanting to buy franchises, and you don't really know the people. And so what we learned was, let's take a step back. It's kind of like the old saying is, run fast, go alone, go slow, go together. And what we did was we just ran super fast, and it was all this excitement and inertia happening. And then over the course of the year, you really find out really what people want. And it really wasn't great people, by the way, really great people, but just not right for the franchise. And so we made some changes, and we've got some really great people that are now in it every single day, and it's growing, which is great.
Where do you see the roof resource in a year from now?
In a year, we will have over 100 units.
Nationwide.
And we are going to be going into a couple of states and owning them outright, and we won't be franchising in those states. So because, again, we believe so much in the model, not only are we franchising it, but we're going to have wholly owned units as well.
which makes corporately owned,
Yes.
which is good. So would you consider that a challenge, balance, or any overcoming any obstacles, knowing that you're going to be in 100 units?
Internally, we have a model that's built out for scale to be able to handle the Zoom calls for customers and then the operation side. So we're ready for that scale. We see a lot of big partnerships going to be coming in here in the next, 3 to 6 months, corporate partners, which will align with, and those things take time. But when that happens, it'll be like a rocket ship. So we really have to be planning strategically and being very smart and having the right people on staff and ready to go.
It's an interesting point. The pandemic, a lot of people were ruined a lot of things. How do you feel the pandemic affected or impacted the roof resource in a positive way, you think?
Yeah, the pandemic was Zoom. You talk to people in 21 and you say Zoom and they're like, what's that? Or Google Meet, what's that?
Right.
2 years later, grandmothers and grandfathers and aunts and uncles, and they're just getting on a video call with the family. And that was the way that everyone could connect. And, through Facebook Messenger and FaceTime. So it brought about a whole nother digital world, which was only looked at in the corporate space as we're going to have, Zoom meetings in corporate, right?
Sure.
Or Teams meetings. Now we're having these meetings and these are just normal, easy meetings. And of course the product made it really easy too. Just click on the link and everything would handle. In the first couple of years, people had to download the software and sign in. And
now it's like FaceTime.
Now it's exactly like FaceTime.
Interesting point. And again, a Zoom call is another example of a disruptor. You've been in business several years now. You're the talk of the roofing industry. Tell me off the top of your head how many contractors you know that are roofers, that are competitors, that are doing Zoom calls.
0.
Thank you. They're just afraid of change? How do you explain it? Blinders on?
Well, what happens and what I've only seen, and respectfully to those who are in the roofing industry, they've went out and they've learned roofing. They learned how to put on a roof. And then maybe they became a project manager. And then they said, I'm doing all this hard work and he or they are making all the money. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and bring my own 4 or 5 guys and I'm going to start my own roofing company.
Right.
And so it's an industry that just kind of continues to do what they've been trained to do over and over again. And no one's saying, well, I want to do something differently. And again, they're trained in an environment where you keep doing that, you're going to be the same as everybody else. And that's why, I was on, TV a couple weeks back and I just said, there's 102,000 roofing companies, 102,000. And the majority of them are in the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
They all do the same thing. And that's why, not being no disrespect, Blockbuster was a $6 billion company, right?
What was their opinion? I remember you told me one time when Netflix came to them.
Yeah, Netflix came to them and said, hey, buy us for $50 million. We need, we're done. We're trying to get all this to work. And that's when Blockbuster changed their CEO to the CEO who used to run 7-Elevens. And he said, no, we're going to stay in the box store. We're going to stay in that space. And that's when Netflix said, forget it. Like, we're going to go after them. And of course, the rest is history. And so we hope that in time, and I was told this by Mark Siebert, who is the president and CEO of iFranchise Group, and they're out of Chicago. I met him in December of 21. And he had said, this is what he had said. He's like, 3 years from franchising, you're going to start to see some people try to emulate you. And in 5 years, if they've not changed their model, and if your growth is going to be how we think your growth is going to be, they will be out of business or they'll be doing the work for you. And for me, it's not about putting people out of work. It's for putting people to work. And, we have roofing companies today that work for us and they're getting $25,000 to $50,000 a month just doing the labor. They don't have to worry about accounts receivables, marketing, advertising. Where do I find customers? How do I sell people? Software on the back end. They don't have to do that because, as you know, Adam, they're technicians, man. They're artisans. They get up on that roof, man, and they just, Brian Lee, one of our franchisees with Metro Home Improvement, he was at a house and the customer was like, how long is this going to take? And like, well, they started at 8:30. They were done by 1:00. And the roof or 1 or 2 o'clock, and the roof was amazing. They do great quality work. And I'm not saying it's just us and the people who are in our PRN network.
Right.
People do great quality work, but we're saying you don't have to worry about all that other stuff. Just be the backbone. And that's why I've said that, hey, we're going to be the largest roofing company in the country doing thousands of roofs in all these markets. We're going to need you.
Yeah. And here's the best part. Once they know and get a few jobs under the belt with us, they can't believe it. I mean, just from personal experience with them. So earlier in the conversation, we had mentioned homeowners getting letters from insurance companies.
Yeah.
For anyone out there who has a home and you insure your home every year because it's obviously required if you have a mortgage, people have been getting letters that says, hey, we flew a drone over your house last year, or you're new insured, we need to inspect your roof, or you need to replace the roof, or we will not insure you. We're seeing that every month, more and more people. It's a trend that is just skyrocketing.
Yeah, in the last couple of years, with all the different storms happening, there's really two sides of the fence. And so insurance, and talking with some great insurance people and companies and their leadership, they're there to insure the home, right? They're there to protect the home, and that's the reason why we pay insurance. At the end of the day, nothing is free, right? We can't get free roofs. And to your point earlier, we don't go up. Who goes up on their home once a year and checks their roof? Never. Nobody ever checks their roof. It's kind of like, that's my house and my roof is there.
Right.
And all of a sudden they get a leak. All of a sudden something happens or a shingle's blown off. And it's like, well, my insurance company is going to pay for it, right? we just had this customer and it was like north of 30,000, 35,000. Someone was storm chasing and saying, you had a little bit of hail done, but you've got to go through this process and hurdles and jumps. And he was like, I'm not doing it. The roof was $15,000, 15,000, comparably thinking that the roof is 30, 35,000.
Right.
The storm process. Right. And so insurance companies are there to help a homeowner, protect their home and let them know, obviously, if it's going to be a claim on their roof. But at the end of the day, the homeowner, it's their responsibility to take care of the skin of their roof.
Sure.
Their home, as you know, Adam, the siding, the brick, the foundation, the landscaping. And so we're there again to help homeowners know that the roof doesn't cost as much as you think it does, especially when it's going to a storm kind of situation.
And that's some advice for homeowners right now. If you get someone who knocks on your door, okay, and says, yeah, there was hail, we have proof through the neighborhood, don't worry, we'll get the insurance company to buy you a new roof, we'll pay your deductible. How many times you heard that?
Too many. And again,
it's illegal.
Well, right. You don't know who's coming out. You don't know if they're a contracted company. You don't know if that particular person's going to go up on your roof and they actually have workers' comp, because if they fall off and they hurt themselves, the homeowner has to pay for that because, they're not covered. There's a variety of things that when homeowners think, I'm going to get a free roof. Well, then what happens is that you start to hear the chatter and you see it in all the social media. My homeowner's insurance just went up. My homeowner's, this is crazy. Well, nothing is free. Right? We don't get free roofs. And so, that's the other part of it, right? Which is, hey, there are storms. And when there's true damage to the roof and there's true damage to the house, that's what your insurance policy is for, right? It's not, hey, try to replace a roof that there was a storm a year and a half ago. And now I have a roof that's 25 years old. And now we're going to try to push that through. And so insurance companies are now taking aerial imagery of homes and letting them know that you have an unfavorable roof score and you're going to have to replace your roof or we're going to cancel your policy. And homeowners feel maybe slightly threatened by that. But it also is saying, and I think it's a good opportunity for home inspection services to really start to offer something in regards to a inspection of the roof to let homeowners know how much time that they potentially have.
It'd be a good add-on to for a home inspection if someone's buying a, for that matter, which is interesting. So, as you know, it's like a cat and mouse game when a homeowner gets told they can get a free roof from the insurance company. The insurance company hears enough of that where they're like, well, we have to figure out ways that, we're not going to get taken advantage of and, only pay for roofs that we insure properly. But there's that fight within the industry.
Right. And so there's the, hey, we're going to submit it. And they tell some homeowners, we're going to submit it. It's going to get denied. Don't worry about it. It's going to go to a third party. Now you're going to have to pay this third party out of your pocket. And then they're going to fight to get this roof. And sometimes it happens. And then what happens is that, hey, it's $35,000 and the insurance company is saying, hey, there's a depreciation value on your roof. And we're only going to give you, hypothetically, $9,000. Well, then now the homeowner has to come out of pocket that $25,000 because they think that roof is 35 grand. And I just had this customer the other day. It's 15.
Well, there's where we come in as the roof resource. If every roof that just got denied in that scenario, and then they came to us, we would be busier than we could ever be.
Well, and that's where we stand today is that with some potential big partnerships, because again, my company is based on we want to do a win for the insurance company, but we want to win for the homeowner. Everybody wins. And it's all about being transparent. And so we want these partnerships so that, hey, if the insurance company is going to pay for the roof for whatever is in the policy, fine. We're not fighting that because we don't have the dog in the fight. That's not for us. The insurance company and the homeowner, we come in to help both sides. We're not battling for that high ticket, and then we're going to throw in free gutters if it goes that way, right?
But you've had conversations with upper level executives in the insurance industry because they know about you.
Yes. I've had some big nationwide presidents, assistant vice presidents to be on their radar now that, hey, we exist. We're out there. And, we believe that over the next couple of years, we can save insurance companies hundreds of millions of dollars.
Easily,
because it's not what the prices are today in Exactame.
Do you think, and this is just me thinking this out loud, that once one of them jumps in, and they're close, they're all dipping their toe in the water, but once one of them jumps in, the rest follow?
Yeah, that will be the case. It's always, the one.
The pioneer.
But then it's, I've had some good meetings with some big companies, and they're now trying to figure out how do they make certain changes, because you have to change.
Right, it's a big ship.
You can't do the same thing what you've done and make it easy, and then you spend $75 million. Well, let's put $50 million of EBITDA right back into that line and do a couple of things that'll tweak it a little differently. And maybe the roof is off to the side and the gutters and the sides of the windows or whatever is just another claim. But the bulk of that claim goes through the roof resource, and that's where they save hundreds of millions of dollars.
Because there's a chance where a homeowner could get approved for only half the roof, but then they come to us and the whole roof gets paid.
I've had it where truly insurance is paying X amount of dollars, and that X amount of dollars was only for one side of the roof. And with us, it was for the entire house. And,
those are great stories.
And that's happened multiple times, even to the point where I had one customer that had a friend in the industry. It was going to go through insurance. Insurance only paid X amount of dollars. And again, we don't get to see that because we don't want to know. We don't need to know. And the homeowner had friends in the industry that he went to college with, and they were $22,000 to $26,000 for the roof. And we did it for $13,009.56 it was.
And that's not cutting corners. That's top premium shingles with all the brand underlayments.
Right. He went ahead and he chose Owens Corning Duration, Onyx Black, and everything was all Owens Corning, full system. He had a 10-12 pitch home, and he could not believe the savings because there was a piece of, I guess there was a piece that he had to pay.
Sure.
So instead of coming out another 10, 15,000, it was like $6 or $7 grand.
Let me ask you this. He got such a great deal on a roof. Is the house worth more after the new roof?
Oh, for sure. Because it's not with what they pay the roof resource. There's a retail value.
Correct.
On the roof. And so we've done homes where they need to put on a new roof because they're trying to sell the house. And even though they pay us this one particular roof, there's many, but 17,000 or was it 19,000 for the roof? The retail price was 45 grand and they sold the house for 50,000 more. So they'd immediately got their money back. Plus they made another third.
Because it had a brand new roof.
Because it was a brand new roof.
9.999 out of 10 people are going to buy a house with a new roof next to the house that doesn't have a new roof.
Yeah. And there's times where I'll see through social media and I'll see 3-tab roofs and I'm like, that's going to get held up, or someone's going to say it needs a new roof, or the insurance company's going to say, hey, this is great, but we're not going to put insurance on that until it gets a new roof. And that's where we tell all realtors, reach out to us.
Yeah. It's a free quote.
Yeah. We work with every realtor, and they either take that, they put the new roof on it, they sell the house for more, or they take it to, what's it called, to the negotiation table, and the homeowner pays a little bit and they pay.
Yeah. Asphalt shingles, 90+% of the market, petroleum based. A lot of the world is eco-friendly. Do we have anything in our pipeline that's eco-friendly? Have we had customers that ask for something that's more green for roofing?
We haven't, even if in all these other states, what always comes up is metal. So people want to know that, hey, metal is a 50-year roof. And typically it's someone my age that's saying, hey, I want a 50-year roof. And then we say, well, the systems that we install are 40 and 50 years. They're thinking that the shingle from 10 and 15 years ago, which was a 10-year shingle or a 15-year shingle or a 20-year shingle. Now we're talking lifetime systems. And it's not us, it's the manufacturer that is putting together these incredible systems. And so homeowners that got that metal roof quote for $100,000,
right?
And we step in and, hey, guess what? We're $31,000 for a 50-year full roof system. They're blown away. I'm like, you could get 3 roofs for the price of one metal. And that's happened time and time again. And those homeowners have all switched and, picked up, one of our GAF Owens Corning CertainTeed roof.
Where do you see yourself in the roof resource in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I see us in the window space, the gutters, the gutter guards, the siding, cement, decks, everything that is virtually within the 4 walls on the outside of the home. The windows are a little bit different, and we could probably do flooring too. But right now, as I've told everyone, we're just maniacally focused on roof off, roof on.
And be the best at that.
And just offer our system. And then we're going to be doing gutter guards here, which I've been asked for 2 years about that, and we'll do that. And slowly step into that space. And so we know that we're bringing great change to an industry that I think that is needed the change, but no one has really wanted to change. And so we hope that, in the next 5 years, we'll see others, step into the space. And, I take pride in doing right by the homeowner. So if they want to do right by the homeowner, I'm all in.
Last question. What's the one thing you want every listener to take away from your story and your mission at the Roof Resource?
I truly created this for the homeowner. This was not about, hey, how much could I make money? Let me take a product. I can mark it up. I'm going to make X and I'm going to go out there and just hit social media. I literally created this company because I'm like, I did it for my grandmother. I did it for my brother. Why can't I do this for a stranger? And the core of the Roof Resource is built for the homeowner. And they have to have transparency. And you have a transparency, you can trust us to deliver on that experience. And now I've been doing it for 5 years as of December of this year. And the reviews are there. So I want them to know that the Roof Resource was built for them. It wasn't built to sell them a product and try to make more money. It was built for them. And then share it. Because you may not need a roof, but your neighbor's going to put a roof on it, or your family member or a friend. And I just want them to get our number get your quote. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And then at that point, you're empowered. Now you're empowered to make some decisions. And if you choose us, wonderful. If you choose somebody else, I know we're going to save you thousands of dollars because they just won't provide that kind of number. So I know it's a long answer to your question, Adam, but it's those two things. The company was built for them, and don't get a roof until you get our proposal.
Period.
That's it.
Well, there you have it, folks. Mike Harvey, CEO, founder of the Roof Resource. Fantastic information. Share this with everyone. If you like what you heard today, click the subscribe button. Appreciate you coming on the show today. Great time.
Thank you, Adam, for having me.
Once you down,